Hello everybody. I will start to present a series of notes concerning the topic of so-called corporate social responsibility and business ethics. However, I'm going to title this series of topics as Introduction to Business Immorality and Corporate Social Irresponsibility. Concerning these topics, it should be said that most of them are based on previously published materials, and I plan to supply 13 such topics, of course related to things I already published concerning the matter in question. So the following 13, these 13 topics will be the following. The first, corporate social irresponsibility. The second, employee corporate social irresponsibility. The third, against leadership idea, models and practices. Fourth, habitual lying. Fifth, bribery and corruption. Sixth, me, myself and I, practical egoism, selfishness, self-interest and business ethics. Seventh topic, acquiring CSR practices from deception to authenticity. Eighth, caring principles and practices in corporate social responsibility. Ninth, fine young criminals, corporate social responsibility. 10th, innovation, market research and a good beginning of marketing. 11th, culture and European business ethics. 9th, culture, business and global corporate social responsibility. And the last one, 13th, what is business ethics and corporate social responsibility. So these would be the topics that I will cover in these remarks. Perhaps some additional note should be supplied as well. Namely, I'm not going to enter in some preliminaries concerning business ethics and CSI, corporate social irresponsibility, or CSR, corporate social responsibility. However, such prerequisite should be mentioned. First and foremost, some kind of acquaintance, basic knowledge about business ethics is needed, by all means, because some criteria, some concepts, some arguments, objections, replies will be mentioned, and listeners should know something about it. This is the first thing, the most important basics of ethics, of course. One doesn't need to know specific issues concerning, say, Kantian ethics or generally deontological ethics. I mean, something like exegesis of Kant's texts, pros and cons, etc. However, one should know something about what is deontological ethics, and for instance, what is Kantian ethics, what is Kant claiming about duty, categorical or imperative, this or that, and in which places, and which are there, and which are some kind of I don't know, pros and cons, such ethics of duty in Kantian, in terms of Kantian ethics. Second thing is, perhaps one should know something about a kind of how should I put it, a kind of application of general ethical theory. For example, Kantian ethics again, to business sphere. Why? Because it's not easy. Kant himself supplied a series of examples concerning business practices, in fact, but this is not sufficient. One should combine general principles of Kantian ethics with kind of principles concerning business and business ethics, which are not the same. They are not just applications of general ethical principles to business sphere. Okay, this is one way to do it. Other way around, one can do it in terms of going vice versa, going from the point of view of particular case, of particular duty or something, and then to climb toward the principle, and then to decide, is it okay or not? Is the duty fulfilled or not? So this is another issue or another prerequisite. Third prerequisite is that someone should know at least something about say human action, generally speaking. This means that one should know something about say theories of human action, basic analysis of human action, types of human action, etc. And this is the third prerequisite. And the fourth, the last one, is that one should know something about the business, not just in terms of theory, but in terms of practice as well. So I'm not going to talk about these prerequisites, but I'm going to apply them in particular topics, and from time to time, of course, I will need to explain this or that, but I will assume that listeners understand what I'm talking about. So let me go back to the document in which the contents is spelled out. So the first topic is corporate social irresponsibility. This is the first topic. So why corporate social irresponsibility? Why am I not starting with corporate social responsibility, with duties, with nature of business, with practical cases, with this or that? I don't know why. I have no particular reason. For a decade now, I'm researching business ethics, teaching business ethics to various audiences, from students, undergraduate, graduate students, even doctoral students, then to colleagues, various scientific, scientific symposia, conferences, meetings, colloquia, etc., and to members of business community as well. And my personal experience is that these known ways, and perhaps mostly ways which are mostly used in explicating business ethics, are no good. Are no good, because what is the purpose of what is the purpose of this note? What am I doing? I don't know. I'm trying to switch, to change an aspect, a perspective, of which you might or might not have toward the social responsibility of a business. So first thing that I decided to do is not to start from responsibility, but from irresponsibility. Why? Because we are all, in a way, quite familiar with our own responsible actions, perhaps even more with the responsible actions of others. And because of this closeness with our own experience or experiences of others, this topic would be more close to us, would be more live for us. We will experience it, perhaps we should experience it as our topic, that we are a part of, that we are living. Okay, so corporate social irresponsibility. Now I will use, of course, I will use the paper. But yes, this is in fact it's a published paper, but from a social responsibility review published by Social Responsibility Research Network, situated in England, and the boss of the network is my colleague David Crowther. So, by the way, hello David. And this paper was published in 2011, and Social Responsibility Review number 3, pages from 78 to, let me see, 88. So it's 10 pages, not long. I should cover it in, say, 3 hours. Oh, just kidding. Let me start with another reason why am I starting with CSI, not with CSR. So CSI is corporate social irresponsibility. CSR is corporate social responsibility. Okay. Another reason, besides this kind of close acquaintance with irresponsibility, the reason why I start with irresponsibility is the following. If you ask people on the streets what comes to their minds if you say to them corporations are irresponsible or corporations are responsible, so they will mention various particular cases of corporations behaving bad. And this is, in fact, a kind of perspective, a kind of lens, a kind of glasses that public has when the public approaches to the issue of social responsibility. So this is another reason why one shouldn't start with corporate social responsibility, rather with corporate social irresponsibility. What we know about it. Even such cases like 1989 Exxon Valdez oil spill started this corporate social responsibility issue, and a series of particular misconducts by various multinational, transnational, international, I don't know what kind of national or overnational corporations in period from 1989 onwards. So this is the second reason. Third reason is connected with our internet culture, because we are all a kind of I don't know, internet people, online people. We always try to check news, information, more or less reliable information on the internet. Okay, and if one writes into a search engine, say CSR, then which I did, in fact, then one gets, as I got, it was 36,900,000 results for CSR. It was so 2 years ago. And when I wrote corporate social irresponsibility, the opposite term, I got only, approximately, of course, it always says approximately 1,440,000 results. So almost like 30 million results less. 34 million results less. Why is this the case? Then I conduct a simple amateur, of course, because I'm not a scientist, stricto sensu, research and check, say, few hundred first listed links, and the result of this check, because I was trying to find what is the nature of this internet news or information. And at least half, if not more than half, perhaps 2/3, of all information concerning CSR responsibility was in fact related to advertising persons, companies, corporations, various government or non-government organizations, organizations civic society, and similar, as being responsible, socially responsible. While on the other hand, concerning this CSI, irresponsibility research, almost all, like 90–95% of first 100 listed in search engine listed informations were concerning the particular cases of irresponsible actions by particular legal persons carrying activities for profits, therefore corporations. Okay, this is, well, I forgot, this is a third reason why I'm starting with CSI, not with CSI. Perhaps a kind of explication is needed here as well. We shouldn't think of these two concepts, CSR, responsible action by a corporation, and CSI, irresponsible actions by corporations, as strictly opposite, or contradictory even. Not at all, because they can be put together theoretically and practically. Forget about the theory, about the logic, about the grammar of these two phenomena. Let us go down to the practice. So, in the same time, a particular corporation can act socially responsible in one sector of its business and socially irresponsible in another sector. Or a company can act in one way responsibly and in another way irresponsibly. Of course, these two practices are different practices, not the same practice, but it's also possible that the same practice has two aspects, one of which is responsible, the other is irresponsible. But let's take the simpler example. The simple example is that we have two actions. So what I'm pointing to, I'm pointing to a situation in which, say, a corporation is doing something good, which is essentially good. Say a corporation is a sponsor of some event, or something, or is engaged in particular philanthropic activity toward particular group that is needed, particular help, etc. And on the other hand, the same corporation is being completely irresponsible, sometimes even also illegal, and sometimes in the gray area, toward a particular stakeholder group that is very closely related to its core business, say workers or customers or environment, etc. So it is possible that in the same time, the same corporation is manifesting CSR and CSI. So we must be very careful with analysis of particular corporations and their CSR and CSI activities in particular place and particular time. Okay. Now the last and perhaps ethically and or even philosophically or anthropologically most basic reason why I start with irresponsibility is simple. It's because humans are irresponsible. I am irresponsible. And this is not something that it is like a corruption, you know. It's not the issue of completely eliminating it, because then it's ideology, it's politics. You cannot eliminate corruption, as well as you cannot eliminate prostitution, or you cannot eliminate I don't know what. The reasonable thing is to minimize the amount, the quantity and quality of such corruptive actions in a way that such amount doesn't relevantly disturb normal procedures, normal processes of a society, and of course of a business sector of a society as well. Business is a part of society. So strange, but indeed it is. So humans are responsible. This is basic reason. We are responsible. And at the same time we are responsible. Like corporations. There are no differences. We are not good entities, good people, good persons. We are not good humans. And corporations, on the other hand, are evil. Evil persons. It's not a fight between good and evil. It is a series of analogies. In fact, similarities perhaps between our personal and our public lives. Our lives as physical, individual persons, and our lives as a parts of legal persons carrying out activities for profits exclusively. So, so much about irresponsibility, this and that, blah blah blah. This is not important. And why is then why is it in the paper if it's not important? So corporate social irresponsibility is a phenomenon, I'm reading it now, related to at least three spheres of our lives. First of all, being our lives as parts of legal persons carrying out profits, or companies or corporations, and not to us as physical, as individuals, as humans, particular individual humans. Second, it can be related to social sphere, and like business, political, legal, etc., so cultural, I don't know. And finally, it can be related also to particular irresponsibilities done by such legal persons or companies or corporations. Such irresponsibilities can be or should be divided even into common irresponsibilities, which are in most cases in say average societies, average Western developed, I don't know, these are all ideological notions. Societies are sanctioned by law. And also besides standard irresponsibilities, there are extraordinary things. Every year a new kind of irresponsibility is invented and put into practice, you know, like new way of being irresponsible in finance industry, banking, etc. Now, let me turn to a kind of problem, or perhaps at first sight it would look like a theoretical issue. Nevertheless, it isn't only a theoretical issue, it is also a practical daily issue. It concerns us as humans, individuals, persons, I don't know what, specimens of Homo sapiens sapiens, okay? There are two sides of this story about CSI, irresponsibility. Two sides. The first one says that it is impossible to be responsible. It is impossible to be responsible. Responsible in terms of being responsible. So, a responsible person performs responsible actions, or performs responsibly, or, I don't know, practices hers or his practices responsibly. And the second is that it is irresponsible to believe, to claim, and to act upon this first one, no matter if it is hard to find out what responsibility really is and toward what or whom do we have it in terms of particular duties or obligations. Now, these two claims are trivial, in fact, since irresponsibility is, say, conditio humana, it is part of human nature. It is obvious that it is impossible to be completely responsible. This is so not only because we are irresponsible to be completely responsible, but also because there are external influences that we perhaps should know about and take them into consideration, but we often do not, and therefore we act irresponsibly. So the first part will consider this paradox, which says humans are irresponsible and it is impossible to be completely responsible. And the second part of this note will consider the second claim, which says that it is not just irresponsible, but perhaps also irrational to believe the first one. We must, or we should, believe that we are capable of much more responsibility than we actually do display, that we actually manifest by our very actions, by our things we do from day to day, from morning. Okay. So responsibility here is taken as a common sense concept. Excuse me, a common sense concept which concerns common sense, implies common sense, another common sense concept. First of all, being freedom. So generally speaking, it seems to be impossible to act responsibly if one isn't free while acting. So you cannot judge anybody or analyze somebody's actions as responsible or irresponsible if one wasn't free while acting in particular way. So freedom is quite important. Okay, and now I will like to quote Pascal Bigner, a French philosopher. I don't know, French philosophers. Are there philosophers? Yes, there are French philosophers. From his Temptation of Innocence book, and from the beginning of the book, from the introduction, So Brickner writes the following: the temptation of innocence is the sickness of individualism, which is founded on the effort to avoid consequences of one's actions and attempt to enjoy advantages of freedom without suffering any of its difficulties or troubles. It branches in two directions: infantilism and victimization, two ways of escaping the burdens of being with big B, like Heideggerian being, in der Welt sein, being, like man, human being. I don't know, something like that. Okay, escaping the burdens of being, two strategies of blessed irresponsibility. In the first case, the innocence should be conceived as a parody of youthful carelessness and ignorance. It reaches its climax in the character of an eternally immature. In the second case, it is a variation of an angelic feature, representing an absence of guilt, incapability to perform evil, and it is incorporated in the character of self-proclaimed martyr. Okay, so in the same time, we are both. We are suffering from infantilism and of self-victimization. In the first case, we are eternally immature, and in the second case, we are angelic features, or self-proclaimed martyrs. Now, this is one side of the story. One side of the story which says that irresponsibility is a phenomenon which is spread all over our contemporary culture, public and private lives, and is a kind of natural, common phenomenon. Nobody is surprised by irresponsibility. Not even us. We are not surprised even with our own irresponsibility. We are used to it. Okay, from time to time we act irresponsibly. God helps us if these particular cases are important with long-term consequences and influence for our lives. Nevertheless, we act irresponsibly. That's it. But there is a lot of irresponsibility, and there are persons, legal persons, which by their actions influence not just a lot of people, but a lot of people during a long time, sometimes even generations, decades. In some parts of the world, children are still born with serious illnesses caused by irresponsibilities of companies decades ago. And this will continue. This will continue. This is a influence of irresponsibility when I will be talking about the influence. This is the most important. Okay, on the other hand, there are different approaches to this issue, most of which are ethical approaches. So there are various ethical systems, applications. So as I said, from general principles toward particular cases. Among which perhaps the most known, I don't know if it's in argumentative sense the most sound ethical system, is the system of Hans Jonas, his Ethics of Responsibility. So there is in a way a description of state of the world as we found it. And we found the world as irresponsible. We found ourselves as being more or less irresponsible. And on the other hand, normative element is that we should try to act more responsibly. So this is some basic tension concerning CSI and CSI. In our lives, in ethics, and in business as well, of course. Ceteris paribus, as always. This tension isn't concerned just with descriptive elements, such as the world is such, or with normative, that we have some kind of struggle between perhaps even our from time to time desire to act irresponsibly. We wish to do it. We plan to be responsible. It's not just by responsibility by mistake or by not knowing something that we should know in order to act responsibly. We plan it from time to time. Yes, we plan it. With premeditation. We plan the consequences. Okay, but it's also a prescriptive. So prescription means it concerns responsibility. So we should act. It's a kind of duty, perhaps a command, basic obligation. You should act responsibly. Something like that. No, it's an order, like an order. And as Wittgenstein said, an order its own execution. Or an order orders its own execution. There is nothing to be said about an order. You must execute it. That's it. If you don't execute it, you don't understand it. Another aspect of this conflict between responsibility and irresponsibility is that it appears on individual, personal level of physical persons, us as humans, and on the level of perhaps a level of societies, legal persons, like companies, states. Yeah. Yet how do we manage? How do we cope with this tension, with this conflict? How do we cope with ourselves? We have some kind of, as Rorty said, private idiosyncrasies. We believe this is one way to do it. We rationalize. We believe that we as I don't know, as individuals, as private persons, are good, responsible, etc. While as public persons, as parts of companies, we are allowed to be, at least in part, irresponsible. Perhaps something like that. So we rationalize. This is the way, and we believe that we as kind of, I don't know, kind of subjects, kind of persons with our private lives, have something special inside of us that can guarantee that we are the final judge, the final criterion of judging what is responsible and what is not, what should be done and what should be avoided, in order to execute responsible action and to avoid irresponsible action. But this was disclosed as a pure myth, and one of the most, at least to me, one of the most elegant and the funniest way of exposing this as a myth is last paragraph of Harry Frankfurt's book on bullshit. So I will quote again. Too many quotes, yes. So Frankfurt says, 2005, page 67, published by Harvard, small pocket book. Moreover, there is nothing in theory, and certainly nothing in experience, to support the extraordinary judgment that it is in the truth about himself that is the easiest for a person to know. Facts about ourselves are not peculiarly solid and resistant to skeptical dissolution. Our natures are, indeed, elusively insubstantial, notoriously less stable and less inherent than the natures of other things. Another conclusion. And insofar as this is the case, sincerity itself is a bullshit. This argument can be applied to our present issue. In which way? It can be applied that we cannot rely on ourselves as being essentially good and responsible while claiming that somebody else is essentially irresponsible, or even that we can differ between ourselves as private persons which are quite responsible and good and beautiful and rational and intelligent in our private lives, while we are bad and irresponsible and ugly and in our public lives, in our lives as professionals, as managers, workers, living in business sector. So this will not do. Because why? What is the reason? Because we ourselves are not the supreme judges of this difference, and more to that, of the moral superiority of ourselves as private persons, contrary to ourselves as a public persons or public servants or workers in a company or somewhere. Okay. Now let me turn to the second claim. So let me repeat the first claim, that it is in human nature to act irresponsibly, and connected with that, related, perhaps strongly related to that therefore it is impossible to be to act completely responsible. And the second claim was that to believe, to act upon the first claim is not just irrational, it is also irresponsible thing. It is one among irresponsible things included in the first claim, or in the set of claims that first claim implies, refers to. Okay, and now I must start with a kind of super short introduction to human action. Humans act. This is kind of daily phenomenon. We need to act. We are not like, say, rocks or water or air, just be there, you know, like, I don't know, some kind of plants, just being there, not moving at all. Okay, they move, but differently. So we need to act, to do something. And why? We need to act in order to survive, in order to live. This is the main reason why we act. If we could act with, we could survive without acting, it would be a brilliant thing to do, not doing anything. Oh, this would be nice. Yeah. But not just to survive. We act in a particular way in order to live in a particular way. So we do certain things in order to achieve different things. First things are means, and second group of things are goals, some kind of goals. These have, okay, numerous variations, and sometimes this means in most extremely developed way that we act in a particular way in order to achieve particular quite sophisticated way of life. Okay, sometimes it is, or perhaps in most cases it is a very idiosyncratic private set of various practices, etc. But this is a very sophisticated style of life. And such sophisticated styles of life are, in most cases, quite expensive. Of course, not all, but in most cases. Because why? Because they are product of developed and expensive cultures. That's it. And now, how do we acquire practices? How do we acquire ways to act in a proper manner in order to how do we acquire these ways of acting in order to achieve certain results? So means towards ends. We learn. This is another feature of humans, that humans must learn in order to act. They must, first thing is that they must learn how to act in proper manner concerning particular standard actions. And what is the most elementary way of learning? Well, by observing younglings, young humans, we can say that humans learn by imitating. Younglings are imitating elderly. Children are imitating their parents, members of family. Other children in kindergarten, school, in high school, in college, university, etc., at workplace. So we imitate. This is a good thing to do. This is the amount of energy that is needed is quite low, and the result is brilliant. We in very short periods we learn how to do things simply by imitating what others do. We don't need to understand at all what they are or we are doing. We simply observe the result that we achieve. And that is how we survive. Okay, sometimes understanding is needed, but in most cases not. In a lot of cases of imitating, it is not needed. If it would be needed, then it would be very complicated to learn, and survival of the species would be in question. So this is a biological thing. We shouldn't mess with that. Leave it as it is. Imitation is good because we survive and we want to survive. Huh? That's it. Okay, if we do not want to survive, then it's another issue. But if we want to survive, then imitating is okay. Another, not so simple, yet still quite simple compared to other more complicated ways of learning, is learning by trial and error. In this type of learning, we need to have, one has to have some kind of understanding of what trial is and what the error is. So in order to correct it. So this is rather complicated, yet it is generally speaking still quite simple mode of learning. By these two elementary, not to mention other ways, elementary ways of learning, we learn how to act and we acquire habits. Habits are the most important things in lives of humans. Why? They're boring. The repetitive nature, actual habits, or what we habitually really do, is so irrelevant. You know, at least we think of it as irrelevant that we don't think about it. Yet imagine that all things that we do habitually, we must do consciously, with extraordinary caution, with a certain amount of intellectual power, but we don't. The life would be impossible for us. So nature or God or something supplies with possibility to have habits. And habits are important and they're brilliant because we can do things without thinking about them. We can do things in standard ways. And these standard ways result with success. That's it. So opportunity cost is good. Why? Because while doing things habitually, automatically, one can think about something completely different. While a child is washing her hands and face and preparing for school in the morning, a child can, in his head, say, repeat some kind of possible tasks for exam in the school. So this is what habits are for. They give us possibility to develop. No, this is important. And a special kind of habits are standard procedures. Standard procedures are procedures that are performed in the standard way, routine way, concerning concerning different levels, concerning the whole humankind. There are standard procedures concerning different ages, concerning there are differences concerning different continents, different cultures, different nations, blah blah blah, this and that, and of course concerning different professions. In every job, there are standard procedures how a job should be performed. A simple act, a simple practice. There is a standard procedure how to ride a bike. You know. Okay. And this is important because such standard procedures are in fact basic actions or basic practices. So in each and every practice concerns of such basic practices, which are a series, each and every of such best practices is a series of acts that are performed in a particular way, standard way. And in business, this is called, in fact, core business. Core business concerns such basic acts which constitute such practices that are basic for particular business. They should be, they can be and should be described and practiced in exactly the way which is prescribed, sometimes even by law. Now, on the level of business, now getting closer to the business, on the level of business, I'm reading it now, the core business of a company is the business that it is primarily in. The core business of an organization is an idealized construct intended to express that organization's main or essential activity. It is generally considered good for a company to focus on its core business and get rid of other businesses unless it has strong synergies or strategic reasons to justify operating other businesses. Standard procedure is the most important phenomenon here. And there is analogy from between personal and professional life. And analogy would be the following. A person knowing standard procedures is performing a job with its description, which corresponds to the procedures, and the whole of the process of that process is a core business. That's it. And now we must go down to more specific terms. because core business isn't enough. We must go down to the concept of core competency. Now, core competencies or quite technical know-hows, particular ways of doing things, relating a company or a core business to customers, to consumers, to local, legal, social, cultural, etc., environment, etc., could be very specific. Sometimes such core competencies are so specific that we cannot say that each and every company has such competencies in its core business, because they're just, as said, imitating others. It's very hard to invent or to innovate a core competency, because the procedure, standard procedure, or in business standard operating procedure or procedures are similar. There are no so much room for great differences. Of course, being innovative is, and we will come back to this issue, being innovative is quite important in business and in personal life as well. Yeah, okay. Now we can get closer to what we actually do when we do things within a company. And it all comes down, if a physical persons are in question, to a job description. So a company, concerning its core business, has a series of possibilities for workers, and so company supplies a series of job descriptions and tries to find the most suitable employees for these jobs. Job description is a simple list of competencies that a person, the human, can do on a particular place in a particular company. And now we will make a kind of switch, yet, or on the other hand, a mild transformation from job description to professionalism. Let me read from the text. Now, if any action falls under this description of a job or of a particular profession, for a human performing a job in this way can be said that he or she performs it professionally. In order to be a professional, not just, for instance, to perform a job professionally as an amateur, is to be confirmed as a professional by official body which acts applies certain rules for professionalism for a given job. So, for many, not for all, but for many jobs, professionals are required. Now, professionals, as humans who are professional, instead of profession, professionalism comes from different sources. It comes from the source of oldest professions. So there is a kind of body or a group of people that are professionals and that in a way give legality and legitimacy to a professional, or allow them in a formal way to perform his job as a professional. It's impossible that a non-professional performs such a job. Another way is that another element, another source, is that such professionals are their work is main source of they live from doing their jobs. Also, these professionals are approved, say, generally speaking, by culture, society, in terms of some kind of legal confirmation, cultural confirmation, etc., etc., approval of a society. So we can exclude illegal professions, for instance. And now, since professional is very verified, certified, and he or she lives lives from her or his profession, it seems that it's essential for a professional not to engage in misconduct concerning standard operating procedures of a profession. Because if a professional engages in such misconduct, she or he can lose a job. That would be a problem. And the community will lose a professional. That will also be a problem. And a company will lose money. That will also be a problem. I don't know, stock value, reputation, this or that. So how a professional solves this problem? It is also very simple, because a professional has a basic duty which says a professional should perform professionally, has a duty to performs in a professional manner, in a professional way. And then all the particular duties can be spelled out in a kind of, I don't know, document or this or that. But here we have this transformation, as I mentioned. This duty isn't explicit, because such duty to act professionally is implicit in professionalism and in each and every particular profession. And yet it is, so to say, essentially manifested by actions of a professional while a professional is acting professionally, doing proper job. That's it. So where from this duty to act professionally comes? Where from? As I hinted, the only possibility is that any core business, its standard procedures, its job descriptions, and professionals performing the job by doing just that and nothing else manifest implicit moral aspects of the whole phenomenon and practice in question, particular profession, of course. By acting professionally with the obvious possibility not to do that, to do something completely different, a lot. Professional is manifesting duty to act professionally. Now, this is a kind of basic and implicit duty. There are duties that they can be derived from this one. Of course, sources are elements of job description, standard procedures, standard operating procedures, this or that. And so these elements of explication, it is basic, and it can be derived, and it is implicit. It also can be explicated. Why? First and foremost, and so to say the most obvious reason for such explication is dynamics. of a profession. So profession isn't a body of professionals that live forever, that we don't know how do they became professionals, and how they end to be professionals. It is a dynamic body in which we have the most experienced professional, we have young apprentices, okay, and we have old members. So there must be a kind of document that explicates not just this basic duty to act professionally and potential harms and risks if one doesn't act professionally, which in many cases is sufficient for one to not to carry out such activities. Simply analyze the risk, that's it. And they must learn, they must explicitly learn such duties of a profession. And so what kind of document is it? Is it surely it is not a document which consists of descriptions of standard procedures in a profession. It isn't. Yet it's quite similar to that one, and it's closely connected to that document. And it's called ethical code. Ethical code is a kind of nearby document, semi-detached document, which says that spells out a series of duties that are parallel to these standard procedures. Sometimes it starts with the most obvious and most frequent misconducts concerning the procedures of a profession. So what is forbidden for a professional to perform, and what a series of actions that are ordered to a professional to perform standard procedures. There is another reason, not just because of young members who enter the society of full-grown experienced professionals. The profession itself is a dynamic thing. So context and situation of a profession changed. Its place in a society, its place in business. So in business, some various influences on the profession are going on. So profession must accommodate. For instance, a particular way of misconduct can appear in a particular time and situation in particular business sector, industry, say in banking industry. Then standard operating procedures should be changed, and consequently, and in accordance with that, what is forbidden should be mentioned in changed ethical code. So this is all dynamic thing. But what is most important is that ethical codes simply explicitly state basic duties of a profession. That is important. Now, what is the technical or formal measure of a good ethical code is that it is short. It's short. First thing, it must be short. So, of course, because of various quite complicated professions, such codes can have various appendices, annexes, I don't know, supplements containing hundreds of pages of procedures, descriptions of procedures, and particular places in which professionals should avoid this or that. But such supplements can be supplements to manual of standard operating procedures, not to ethical code. Sometimes it is a part of ethical code in order to closely connect ethical code with standard procedures of a profession. Besides being short, it should be clear. So it is important that a young member entering a society of professionals clearly understands what is forbidden, what is ordered, and what series of things, situations in which she or he is simply free to do as one chooses. So this must be clear. It must be clear in a way that it's written in a clear manner, clear style, and as simple as possible. If things are complicated, then they should be explained as such. But this is a matter of writing and explicating such duties, not a matter of number of pages or I don't know what. And the third formal requirement of a good ethical code is that it should be applicable. So one cannot have an ethical code which cannot be applied in a particular situation, in a particular standard process of performing a profession. As it were, completely, I don't know, completely disconnected from realities of business. Its applicability concerns and reflects its nature to help particular real professionals at this time, at the present. This is important. Okay, ethical code isn't here to state general, I don't know what, eternal truths about something. Okay, it can state in some introduction or somewhere, but its main task is to list particular risks or benefits or duties or this or that a particular person performing actions belonging to a profession can use if one find herself or himself in a particular situation in which there is a possibility to act irresponsibly. And if one doesn't act irresponsibly, why one doesn't do it? Because one knows the risks and one follows the duties and standards of a profession, and that's it. And now I will read another sentence about this connection, this transformation, as I said, from general concept of responsibility of humans, responsibility in particular business, and responsibility of professionals, transforming into duty to act responsibly, and then toward particular duties of a particular profession, namely a core business and standard procedure in the following order: manifest business theory, govern business practice, create business facts, and exemplify business ethics, and corporate social responsibility. In terms of professions' ethical codes and in terms of balanced decision-making process, meaning reaching rational, just, and balanced decisions among interests of all relevantly included groups of stakeholders, of course. Now concerning the CSI, if a core business and a standard procedure of a core business of a company does not manifest, govern, create, and exemplify, then it must be that some of CSI is going on in a company. This last point is not intended as a kind of criterion or a test of CSI, of course not. You cannot test anything with it. Rather as a kind of symptom. So if basic duties aren't manifested by a core business of a company, then something wrong is going on. Simple example, if a quality of a product that you buy in a store and doesn't match the data, or the data on the package doesn't match the content of the product, and this is the core business of a company that sells you this product, that products this product, manufactures it and is responsible for all of its parts and its distribution and everything, then something irresponsible is going on at the core level of the business. Not something on margins, some accident, I don't know. No, it's elementary thing, and it's probably going on for a long time. And the whole business, there is something rotten in this business. Yeah, okay. Perhaps I should show this table in which I tried to sketch these relations. I'm not sure. So core business standard procedures, manifesting and amplifying, etc. in all levels of a business. Okay. And now this is how or in which way responsibility can flow from the business. And let me return to the first two competing claims. Humans are irresponsible, yet humans as humans are irresponsible, and responsibility is part of our nature. On the other hand, to act or to believe that or to act in accordance with it seems to be irresponsible as well. And in this way, I try to present in a model which connects ways we act with the duty that we act correctly or a standard way or something, I don't know. And this is in fact I don't know, this is contrary to the both claims, because by doing that, by performing in such way, we are in fact manifesting that we are not believing in B, and that claim A, first claim, that we are responsible, that we are not irresponsible all the time. If we were irresponsible all the time, that we will not survive. So in order to survive, we should act responsibly, at least from time to time, and at least in some essential matters that have long-term consequences on our lives and the lives of others. Okay. However, there is another side of this story. Another side of the story is that there are that there is responsibility, and responsibility is important, and everybody should know responsibilities concerning one's own job, workplace, profession, company, its core business, etc. Everybody should know such things. Why? Because we are on a constant pressure from ourselves, in the first place, and from the others, to act irresponsibly, in a sense that this irresponsible action serves as a mean to some end different from it. Now, there are hundreds of ways to act irresponsibly, and there is only one way to act responsibly. And this way is in a way concentrated in performing an act or performing a practice in a standard way. Okay, there are non-standard situations, but even in such situations, which are not non-standard. There are standards how to behave, how to act, how to do things in such ways. Of course, there are non-standard situations, but these are not so frequent as we think they are. They can be a shock to us, okay? They can be stressful, etc. But they're not so frequent. Why? It is a simple mathematics. Because if such situations, so extreme situations, were going on a daily basis, there would not be a possibility of doing things in a standard way, standard procedures, routines, habits, day-to-day actions. And we have habits, and we have standard actions, and we have day-to-day normal procedures. So there is no enough place for such extreme cases. However, if such an extreme case occurs, then we must do the best we can. And it's often a question of imagination, of intelligence, of, I don't know, inventiveness, of something new. How to adapt to new circumstances. It's also biological and cultural things. Humans are specific because they quickly adapt to new circumstances and resolve practical issues. So humans survive, that's it. So this is not so complicated as it seems. Let me turn to this second part of this paper, which concerns CSI. So CSI, in the same sense, because I started with it, it's not a strict opposite. It's not contradictory between being in the same time and perhaps in the same way irresponsible and responsible. So this part being irresponsible. Now, it is not impossible, I'm reading, it is not impossible that one as a private person can accept a first claim, which says that humans are irresponsible, and that it's impossible to be responsible because of that, and as a part of private irony or idiosyncrasy, and at the same time, as a public person, say official in a company, accepts B, which says that it is irresponsible to believe, claim, and act upon the first claim. As a part of one's public professionalism. This possibility is founded on certain cultural difference between privacy and publicity, private lives and public lives. However, this difference, as far as it is used in order to claim that in private lives we can be right, completely right and okay, while in public lives we can do things differently, was nicely objected to by Frankfurt, as I quoted. Now, if this is the case, then CSI is going on, and in fact, it can be defined as I'm again reading. A CSI activity can be defined as an intentional violation of a core business, or a business closely related and dependent on core business. Standard procedures, professionalism, explicit code of ethics, and standard procedures. However, this definition seems to be trivial, and therefore one needs to research types of CSI in order to see that CSI includes formal and substantial activities. The criterion of dividing formal and substantial CSI activities is quite simple. So the criterion of division is violation of functional requirements of business, such as core business, standard procedure, standard of profession on one hand, and to violations of substantial requirements of a business, meaning particular practices, tactics, and strategies on the other. More to that, formal types are connected to some or to all stakeholder groups, while substantial types are connected to a specific nature of a business sector or a profession. So now we can mention elements of these basic types of CSI. So let me start with formal. Both include 4 basic types. Formal types of CSI. This is partial CSI and partial CSR. I already explained that a company can be partially responsible and partially irresponsible in the same time, perhaps not toward the same group of stakeholders, nevertheless in the same time. Second formal type is occasional CSI and occasional CSR. So a company can be responsible and irresponsible when it serves its goals. Third type is internal and external. It concerns the difference between stakeholder groups. So CSI toward internal stakeholders such as workers and external stakeholders such as state or customers or I don't know, market. And the fourth type is particular and overall CSI. Particular CSI concerns irresponsibility toward particular group of stakeholders in particular time and particular place. Place is also important because many multinational companies are doing their job, their core business all over the world, and their headquarters are situated mainly in some other different place. There's only one building, you know, and all the production, everything else is going on the different parts of the world. So place element of is also important. Now substantial types of CSI. First part is ideological and as I call it, omission mistake CSI. So ideological CSI is in fact CSI as an implicit part of a company's day-to-day proceeding, day-to-day job, day-to-day operations. Nobody speaks about it. They're all elements of CSR. Say on a internet page, web page of a company, everything is transparent. Yet there is underlying ideology that is carried out on day-to-day business, normal business, which is in fact constant application of CSI, constant irresponsible action. Okay. Contrary to that is CSI by mistake or by omission. Anybody can make a mistake. Anybody can omit something. So these two should be clearly differentiated, and this difference is quite important. Second type is typical and extraordinary. Typical CSI is mostly explicitly mentioned in ethical codes as elements of this code that are, or practices that are directly forbidden to a professional. While extraordinary, as I just said, are situations which, by the nature of the business, come to prominence only from time to time, or extraordinary in the sense that circumstances in an environment of a business cause such situations. For example, Great Depression, crisis, etc., or a stagnation in technological development, or some new invention that can change the whole market and everything. All kinds of extraordinary things. And they can imply extraordinary CSI. Well, typical CSI is, in most cases, not in all, in most cases it concerns a CSI which is typical in relation or in dependence to a particular profession and particular standard procedures of a particular profession. Third substantial type is amateur and expert. Amateurs do things because they love things. Professionals do things because it's their job. So we should trust professionals, not amateurs. Yet we sympathize with amateurs. They have something that we professionals don't have. We lost it. I don't know. This is a mythology. No, it isn't about that. It is about the fact that expert CSI is a CSI performed by trained professionals, by illegal, sometimes legal, sometimes even illegal persons, even organizations that exist only to do the dirty job for a company. Or if it concerns a physical person, an individual who is in fact in charge of doing something quite irresponsibly. Amateur, contrary to expert, amateur CSI is CSI done by somebody who really believes that this is good, who really likes to do it, who really is willing and motivated to do that, even if one knows that this is irresponsible, perhaps of some egoistic reasons of this or that, I don't know. And fourth type, last but not least, this substantial type of CSI is tactical, the difference between tactical and strategical irresponsibility. Tactical irresponsibility is irresponsibility that a company performs in a particular period, say short-term period, because it sees that it is the only way to keep up with other companies, I don't know, to gain some advantage, this or that. While strategic is quite similar with overall informal types. Strategic is irresponsibility which is strategically dispersed in all elements of company, in all stages of process of achieving a core business, in all internal stakeholder groups, etc. So it is a kind of underlying, hidden, dark mission, vision, core values, blah blah, of a company, which needs to be put forward into light. Okay, these are basic four types of formal and substantial corporate social irresponsibility. Now I would like to skip a series of cases, particular cases of these types. Oh my god. Okay. And I will turn to the conclusion. And the conclusion is prevention, CSI prevention. So let me return to the beginning. Let me go back. This is a kind of irrational thing if one says we should eliminate. What does it mean to eliminate CSI from a society, from a business sector of a society, from a business community? You should kill all business people. Business should stop. Then it is eliminated. If you eliminate a human species, then you're sure that you eliminated corporate social responsibility. This is the only way. And this is completely wrong. Why? Because it is, as I said, it is like corruption or bureaucracy. It is not something that we should eliminate at all, because it is impossible to eliminate without some negative externalities toward human species. So what we should do? We should minimize negative effects of CSI on its opposite, and its opposite is CSR. So there is an amount of CSI actions as any other aspect or amount of actions which is contrary to a standard amount of standard operating procedures and actions falling under standard operating procedure, description of a standard operating procedure, and which doesn't threaten the standard operating procedure, and in the same time, by doing CSI action, one is under great risk and not so much benefit of it, because this amount of CSR actions concerning standard operating procedures and core business. Now, the most common way to detect if you want to lesser this amount of CSI actions is to detect such actions. So these types were noted. If you detect it, you can sanction it. That's it. But there is a myth, another myth here, and I will read it. Contrary to the opinion that the most of immoral deeds are performed by genuinely immoral humans, almost evil, which is based on mistaken interpretation of datum, which says that there is certain percentage of criminals, say criminals in any given society, it can be presupposed that the vast majority of us will perform CSI action if certain conditions are satisfied. These are the following. A. First condition. Know how to perform a CSI action. You cannot perform CSI if you don't know how to do it. Okay, you can do it by mistake or by omission. But in most cases, you must know how to do it. Or at least you must have, one has to have a kind of a hunch how to do it, some kind of minimal information. Oh, this is money laundering. This is how I should do it. Okay, then I will try. Second condition B, motivation for performing CSI action. One needs to be motivated and willing to perform it internally or externally, by situation, external factors, or by internal motives, reasons, I don't know what. And third reason, C, opportunity to perform. Now, A and B are hard to eliminate, while it is possible to eliminate C, yet there is no or little consensus about how this should be done. Opportunity means why. Let me explain. Let me explain why it is hard to eliminate A and B. Know-how. Know-how. You can easily know how to make a bomb from the things you found. You can find in your own kitchen or toilet, or I don't know where, in your house, in your apartment, flat. So you can find it where? On internet. It's very simple. Oh, this is the way how to make a bomb. Oh, this is how I should blow up this. Oh, okay. Motivation. Now, motivation. We cannot eliminate motivation because we will eliminate all the motivation. So we must switch from one motive to another. This is, in most cases, this is a question of personal relations, intrapersonal relations, how one is judging herself or himself, what goals in life, what ways one considers, what ways of doing things one considers to be okay and which ways are wrong. I don't know, some kind of Weltanschauung, well-built world picture, some kind of worldview that we have and that we manifest in our daily life. So therefore, the only possibility is to eliminate opportunity, C, third condition C. Opportunity means that there are circumstances in which a skilled and highly motivated company would perform a CSI action. Such opportunities on particular markets, nationally and internationally, can be created by the lack of, first, legal requirements or their poor implementation and political compliance, various agencies controlling the market and companies, NGOs' activities, media research and coverage of CSI actions by companies, academic research, various business centers and institutions research, and finally, and perhaps the most importantly, a kind of sensitivity and knowledge of CSI in society and general public. So if these requirements are lacking, most important are legal requirements, because legal requirements and their implementation and sanctions simply change cost-benefit analysis of CSI action. Simply, it's too risky in such society, any given society which has good laws and applies them strictly. It's too risky. And of course, the second best candidate is that some kind of sensitivity against CSI actions in the society. You know, this is a lack of these requirements. Second, it must be said that a certain combination of these activities by all spheres of society should be combined, should be combined and should be directed toward the same goal. This is very hard to achieve, and this is why it is very hard to minimize the quantity, quality, and influence of CSR activity in a society, in a business sector especially, and to keep it on that level. Because on the other hand, one has to have some kind of balance. You don't have to just limit the CSI, limit the CSI, and you have to promote CSR in the same time. And you cannot promote it only by, as I said, legal requirements. Legal requirements are here to minimize CSI, irresponsibility, while promoting the CSR within the society, all the spheres, all the sectors, all the groups within the society, sensitivity towards CSR, positive. This is what makes a change, really, because by eliminating opportunities, you are just eliminating possible situations in which companies would perform CSI. In the same time, by promoting CSR in a way of balance and proportion, rhythm and tempo, socially, you are one is creating a society of sensible persons which are sensitive, positively sensitive toward responsibility, and that are negatively sensitive toward irresponsibility. So therefore there would be no way for a company, or at least it would be really improbable to succeed if a company performs a CSR action in a society in which, say that a company would, I don't know, muddle through some legal things, and continue to do its business, because in such situation a society would come over it and against it, and perhaps in different ways. I don't know, society as a consumer, society as some kind of, I don't know, cultural representation or cultural judge of business of such society would create a quite bad image of it, and the loss in terms of loyalty, the loss in terms of indirect elements of a financial success would be great. And therefore, of course, in consequence, the company would completely lose its reputation and stop exist. Let me finish with my last sentence. I'm not sure if it is important at all. The goal considering the CSI prevention is somewhat similar to the goal with, for instance, corruption and bribery, namely to limit the amount of CSI action to some acceptable level which does not harm a whole business system in the way that it produces economic crisis. And to do that, one needs to limit the success of CSI, so CSI poetry, in fact, I call it poetry, behind CSI typical actions. What do I mean by that? And I will finish with that. By that I mean that a company can perform CSI, real CSI, actual CSI, typical CSI. In the same time, a company can manifest on different levels toward internal stakeholders, workers, managers, toward customers, I don't know, other stakeholder groups, complete responsibility. And in the same time, within this manifestation of responsibility, it can manifest also that it is completely and strongly against any kind of CSI. In the same time, company is, during a long periods of time, engaged in a severe cases of CSI directly connected to its core business. So this is CSI poetry compared to CSI action, and this is what should really be avoided and disclosed after all, because this is what creates an opportunity. Okay, by this note, I finished my first lecture, first remark of the series of remarks, which I called Introduction to Business Immorality and Corporate Social Irresponsibility. This was the first topic, the topic named Corporate Social Irresponsibility. And this is why I think that business ethics should and CSR should start, in fact, from point of view of business immorality and corporate social responsibility. Because it, on one hand, and this is my ground reason, I don't know, most obvious one, in one way, in one aspect of it, it's closely related with realities and our daily lives, with ourselves. On the other hand, immorality and irresponsibility is via this approach, it's a kind of naturally dependent, interrelated with core business, with the very business a company performs. And it makes it natural, this way it makes it natural to discuss irresponsibility and immorality as being closely connected to the core business of a company. Not as something which is remote, something which is only manifested somewhere, I don't know, on a website or during some speech and this or that, advertising, etc. But closely connected and almost as being a part of core business. Being moral and being responsible is a part, is an aspect of core business, at least in the sense that being responsible is similar or closely connected to being professional, to act professionally. So in this way, or this is why I think that business ethics course or something, or lecture or or workshop or anything connected with it in any possible manner or mode of teaching or helping someone with these ideas should start, because this is the right way in which one can feel that these issues are closely connected to one's own person, to one's own life, daily life, and on the other hand, it's closely connected to the way one does what one does as a professional. What is his job, his work? It is a part of doing job properly, of doing job in the right way, not something different from it, not something separated from it. Okay, this is it. So this is the end of this first remark on the beginning of introduction to business immorality and corporate social irresponsibility, CSI. Thanks.